Yo, Kpaceguy here. What's going on YouTube? Welcome back to the channel, and we are back in John Paul's basement home theater. We have a huge task on our hands. So he's been messaging me quite recently asking about bass and why he's having such a hard time getting good performance out of his system. So I decided to come down here. We live maybe 20 minutes apart. So I decided to come down here and see exactly what his home theater setup looks like, and I can pretty much quickly identify what's going on. So we've been kind of trying to figure, he's been sending me pictures and videos as he can, and I've been telling him placement of your subs is a big key on your performance, but also placement of your seating. And so I've been yelling at him for like weeks to make sure his couch is not in the middle of the room, because it is a 100% dead spot for bass. And you guys can see his room's kind of divided because of this little wall piece that hangs down. It kind of forces you to divide the room in half. And so he kept this half of the room his home theater and this half for like miscellaneous things. But because of that, his couch is really close to the center. And so he's been playing around. He has 4 subs in here and has not had good bass. And that's a big sign that placement is an issue, because if you have 4 subs, you imagine you're going to have good bass, but he hasn't. And so I kind of knew already what the problem was. So what we're going to do in this video is actually completely remove everything that's in here and change it around. We're going to change where the screen's at, change the speaker placement, change the couch placement, and get better bass response, because we want to get him out of the middle of the room. Because bass, if you know how bass works, it's huge sound waves that travel very slowly, but they need things to bounce off of. And as you get towards the middle, there's so many different directions of waves going everywhere that they're canceling each other out. And that's what we're having the issue with. He's getting cancellations and nulls right here in the spots. We're gonna remap this whole basement, figure out if we should go to this side over here, or if we should stay over there, if we should put it on this wall. We're gonna do all that here in this video, so in case you guys have the same problem, we can all solve it together. So should be a fun time. So here's the tough part. So we're thinking we want to put the projector screen on this wall and the couch here. So we measure the couch and it's exactly 7 feet. The wall is slightly longer than 7 feet, so no problem putting the couch here, but he wants to upgrade to a 7-point whatever system eventually, right? So that means we're going to have 2 surround speakers behind the couch and 2 on the side. So we're already going to cause a problem. So if you have some speakers behind him, that means the couch needs to be pulled up. Couches need to be pulled off the wall anyway. But we're going to have to pull it up regardless, so he's going to be relatively close to the screen, which is great, because with the size of the screen, to have more immersion, he needs to be about that distance away, so that's okay. But if we're going to have a surround sound speaker on his left, we're going to have to put it over here on this wall to not block the entrance to the home theater in general. So that speaker is going to end up being farther from the couch than that speaker, which is still okay, because you can calibrate that to make it work, but we want to try to get it as perfect as possible to give Audyssey, because he has Marantz, give Audyssey the best chance of doing its best work. So we want to set things up correctly so that it doesn't have a hard time making changes. So we have a dilemma. We can do that setup and it may work just fine, but it also limits our sub placement. We're not going to have any room for subs back here. That corner will be completely filled with whatever speaker he puts there, because it's going to be on a stand and there won't be a lot of space there. We'll have some space here for some subs, but again, the room's divided in half, so we may have a sub way outside of our listening position. We'll call it our listening square, basically. It'll have to be placed outside of it. So we got to keep placement in mind whenever we are designing our home theater. So we need a plan B in case it doesn't work. And we're thinking he doesn't want to go to this side of the room because there is a breaker back here, and he's worried about it vibrating, but I think this side honestly favors his design better, because this wall is longer than that wall. So we have more options for placement, and we can still put subs over here if we need to. We can put surround sound speakers if we need to. Atmos speakers can go in here. It's hard to say. So we're going to have to trial and error all day today until we figure out what's going to work best. So I think what we need to do first is get everything that's on this side of the room over here and start moving things around, putting couches in places, and just kind of test fitting things to see what we think will work and what won't work. So let's get that done. Alright guys, so what we're doing, I told him to download me a tone frequency generator, and the reason I like to do this is because you can pick your different frequencies and you can listen to what sounds good and what doesn't. So this is where his couch is currently placed, and like I told you guys, I believe that his couch is in a bad spot, so I went to check that, and it is. Just about every frequency that we listen to is a null right here in the spot. This whole middle area is a complete dead zone for bass. So what that tells us is that we can't have our screen on this wall or across the way. We just can't have the couch here. So we're gonna have to put the screen on a side wall, and that'll it instantly helped his bass response. Like I said, he has 4 subs and said, I can't hear anything with 4 subs. So that's obviously a placement issue with your couch. So we now have step 1 done. We know what we can't do. So we're going to have to pick a wall. We're going to start with maybe this one where he's sitting at and try to see how that works. I still in my gut think that this side of the room will end up being better. But since everything is over here, we're going to start there. So let's do it. Yeah, once we get an image. We can...
Oh, that's the bracket.
Right. Let's shift it over a little bit.
That way?
Oh. No, yeah, you're right, that way.
And then we'll take that down.
Go a little bit more.
You're trying to make it even with the 2 walls?
No. I kind of have an idea of where your screen's going to be.
If you want to mess with it,
right there.
It's just
how
this works. It's the 3, and then the OK in the middle moves, shift, focus, and then the arrows.
Okay.
It'll tell you. Okay.
We'll leave it right here for now, 'cause I think this will be good. Okay. Alright, I want to put your screen up here. Okay. He made a video today.
You did? Which one?
I might make a reply to it. He said he answered a question of a subscriber. Should you have if you have a 7.2.4, let's just say that, and you have different surround sound speakers. Let's say you have Bowser Wilkins up front and then Kef in the back, kind of like your situation. Should you have all matching 7 speakers on the bed layer, or is it okay to mix match the surrounds? And then the question also was, can you mix and match amplifiers, or will you hear the difference? And so he replied to that, and I actually have a response to his reply. Because he said, basically, no, your ear can't hear the difference between amplifier, most people, and then you really can't hear the difference between if one's powered and one's not.
2 hours ago?
Yeah, one's underpowered, overpowered, whatever. You really can't too much hear the difference. But yeah, interesting conversation to have.
You commented on his video?
No, I don't comment on anybody's video. But I have a comment for the first time. Usually I don't respond to people's videos. Like usually all of us generally know the same knowledge. But and what he said was right. But if you take it a step further, I think there may be some objections to his.
And you're selling me a Canton.
I'm selling you a Canton center channel with Bauer Wilkins speakers, but you don't have a center channel at all.
Yeah.
So.
And, I heard of it.
But you get to sell that when you're done with it and make all your money back. So we're gonna put the screw above the green line because obviously this green
line's higher than that one, so it'll be like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but so your wall is weird. Can you? Okay, I don't know. Yeah, okay. Jesus. I don't think your wall's completely straight. I think we're finding it out for the first time.
Oh, there it is. Do what you need to do. Much better.
Right. I'm trying to figure out which way is in. Okay, here we go. Got it.
I think that's good right now.
Wait a minute. Alright. We're going to put our screws at the tippity top of the corner of the top green line.
Are you sure that's totally straight?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I do. Where's your screwdrivers and stuff? You have 2 of them now, right?
Yeah. Here, this might help.
Oh shoot, that doesn't help.
See yourself.
Okay. Okay. This is, oh shoot.
I feel bad, it's okay. That's to the bottom corner.
Yeah, well now it's here. It's gonna keep shifting on me, but yeah. Are you at the very top of your corner?
Not quite, a couple inches more.
Are you? Where's your hand at? Is there a green line on your hand underneath your? Yeah.
This is
Okay.
where I'm at right here.
Okay.
Keep going just a little bit.
Clickbait people and say we were talking trash about Youth Man, and then tag them in it. Don't watch Youth Man's videos, guys.
Let's get to the part. Yeah, I think he's moving out of his house.
Listen, guys, he's almost to 100K, so stop subscribing. Actually, I'm at 23 and he's at 100. That means 70 of you guys need to come over to my channel. 70,000, please.
You just need to give that stuff away. Y'all don't deserve that.
Right.
This $33,000 giveaway. You still want one?
I might get it here in a second. Put your end on that chair. Okay, so we're a little short, which is okay because you can shift your lens down a little bit. You're actually holding it pretty straight. Okay, so I'm gonna hold it. I want you to go back to your couch
And fix the screen.
I want you to see how low or high I need to try to fill your image. Like bring it down. Yeah, the remote's on the speaker.
And we can also change the feet, obviously. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, if we need to. Let's.
Good. If you want, we can go ahead and drill that hole.
Well, bring this. Because you can see this is closer to the ground, to the bottom than that side is. So we need to bring that side down, or bring that side up. One of the two. Here you guys see it. Yeah.
And then we'll move this up. Oops,
That's very close. That's acceptable.
Yeah.
You like it there? Does it look good from you over there?
That looks good.
All right. I'm gonna let you drill the hole then. But
Just go with your finger.
yeah, you got to make sure that you put that drill directly underneath the hook. It can't be any lower.
Right here. That good?
Yeah.
You can probably let it down.
You sure?
Yeah.
All right. That's very close. We need to slightly move this side a little bit, but we're actually
Move this side.
down, which will also move this side back up because it's missing up here, as you can see. So it's too high over there and too low over here.
Drill another hole a little bit higher than this hole.
No, because the bottom where your knee's at is perfect. So we just need to tilt
With the feet.
with the feet. Yeah, the projector's or the screen's pretty good. We want to avoid using keystone, but your wall we might have to.
It's like a high pitch logic.
All right, guys. So we have done a lot of work and a little, maybe like a solid hour and a half of just grinding. So we like this setup. So this wall, like we thought would be the best, is the best. This allows us to have a pretty wide soundstage. I went through and found the middle, and of course, center channel is dead in the middle. Before we even set anything up, we put the subwoofer where we thought we wanted to be. We put the couch here, and we put the subwoofer in this spot, and we walked around this entire room, both of us, probably 17,000 times to try to figure out what spot this would work in. And it sounded the best through most frequencies. We did a frequency sweep from like 25 hertz up to around 60 to 70. And most of the frequencies sounded good with the subwoofer there. And so that's a good spot. But having it this way gives us a really wide sound stage. We're sitting right here in the middle, and so we're equal distance from left and right, and we're dead center with the center channel. And then we have the screen aligned. You guys saw the screen aligned. My camera died in the middle of it, but we did a screen alignment here too. So the screen fills perfectly. Like, it's perfect is really hard to say because nothing's perfect, but I'm pretty convinced that this is perfectly aligned right now. So good job to both of us. So what we're gonna do now, we're gonna run Audyssey. He has 3 speakers right now, just the center. That's his new addition. He has not heard it in his room. I brought it to him today. He just bought it today. So we're gonna put that together, and then we're gonna run Audyssey. And oh yeah, there's my money right there. So we're gonna run Audyssey really quickly and get these 3 speakers calibrated with that center, or excuse me, with the sub, and get it really dialed in for him. What we're gonna do before we do that though is probably put his acoustic treatment up. We want to put the acoustic treatment where we want it to go, so that when we have everything set, we can calibrate it once everything is put together, because we don't want to calibrate it and then put acoustic second, because the sound will be different again. So we're gonna set the acoustic treatment where we think we want it, find our reflection points, then run Audyssey, and then go in behind Audyssey and correct any mistakes we think that it may made. So I really like the way this is coming along. It's actually really, really nice. He's looking to maybe get a rack and put all his equipment over here in the future. No need to rush anything, but for now his equipment's gonna go there, which I think is a great spot. So this is actually turning out to be really, really nice. Eventually he'll mount his projector and all that good stuff, and we'll see him on Subscriber Showcase once everything is done. So we're gonna get back to work and fix these small little things, and you guys will see us when the whole thing is done. All right, guys, so I think we, for the most part, got everything set. Of course, we got to clean some things up, but we did some listening. We ran Audyssey, and we did 5 different points. So, of course, each 3 seats on the couch, and then we did a couple on the front there, just to give a good idea of, for Audyssey, what the sound's sounding like, what's going on. And so we did a couple demos. What I wanted to do was hear what Audyssey was doing first before I made any changes. And so we kind of had an assessment to see what we thought was the problems. Some scenes that we did movie-wise sounded too bright. Sometimes the bass wasn't there. We kind of made some changes. So what I did, I'm going to find the remote. What I did personally, he's using an older Audyssey kind of room calibration. Still pretty much the same as what you can use today, but here's what I did. So what we did first, we came to audio and we went down to Audyssey. And right here at the top, you have the option to go to Multi-EQ XT. And what this does is kind of change, really it's more of the equalization. Audyssey, when it does a calibration, sets a EQ parameter for you. And you have 3 different kind of options. You can do, usually it goes to reference. Reference is more geared towards movie, so it has a little roll off on the treble, the higher end frequencies. LR bypass turns off the equalization for whatever your left and right speakers are, but still applies the EQ to the sub, to the center channel, and any surrounds you have. And then if you do it to flat, this is where if you're in a smaller room and you're listening a lot closer, like more near field listening, you don't really want a lot of bass. You don't really want a lot of high treble sound, because it could be fatiguing over time, or maybe just sound bad in general. But you also have the option to set it to off. So we listened to all 3 of these. And reference was probably, it was pretty good, but he actually said pretty quickly that it sounded a little dull, not enough on the high end. So we actually went to flat. And that sounded the best out of the 3 presets you can have. But we also went to off. Well, I personally turned it off. And when you turn it off, what it allows you to do is it accesses you this new menu that you may have never been into. When you have it off, you can go to graphic EQ. And this allows you to play around and make your own equalization. So you can take away what Audyssey did and set your own EQ. Now, this does not turn off your Audyssey calibration. Don't think that if you turn Audyssey off, that it turns off your room correction. It still applies your distances and all that good stuff, so you don't turn it off, but it gives you more fine-tuned adjustments. So I can come into all my speakers, in this case it's a front left, center, and a front right. I can come in to this menu here, and I can play around with my equalization. I can change my high end, I can change the mid range, play around with the bass, all that good stuff. And this actually was a really nice key feature on what we were doing, because he said to me, hey, I like the way that the bass sounds and everything, the volume's good, but for some reason it sounds a little too harsh. So I was able to come in here to both left and right speakers and kind of tone down some of that upper frequency. You can see 16 kilohertz, 8, 4, 2. That's some of your higher kilohertz range, 500, 250, 125. That's your mid bass, and then 63 on downwards. So you can kind of play with this. Notice he's using the Bowers & Wilkins 606 S2s, I think is what I gave you. And that's what he's using. And so these do really good with bass, actually. Really strong bass presence by themselves for being how small they are. But I actually boosted the 63 hertz just a little bit, just to give it some more full range presence. And the reason being is because the subwoofer,
Clipsters are great, but they don't make the greatest subwoofer. So we're trying to take some of the work off of the subwoofer and have it only play the low frequency. So because these are so smooth in the mid-range, I didn't want the subwoofer mixing that up and kind of adding a bad sound to my mid-range. I want the Bowser Wilkins to shine in the mid-range because they're actually really good. So I lowered down the subwoofer's volumes a little bit and boosted a little bit of the mid-range on these Bowser Wilkins, and it actually sounded incredibly well. Center channel, I left it alone. I did kind of roll off the highs just a little bit because it is a little bit bright sounding in this particular room, but I left everything else pretty much the same. So when you turn your Audyssey off, I won't say off, but when you turn the graphic equalizer off that Audyssey sets and use your own, you can really get a nicer sound and play with it a little bit more. Like I said, he only has 3 speakers, but if you had more, you can do more with it. So really like this feature that Audyssey puts in. They do it in their receivers now. This is like an older receiver from, I think, like maybe 2012, 2013, maybe even a little bit older, 2014 or something like that. So even in today's Audyssey, you can do the same thing. So I know a lot of you guys have Marantz and Denon. You can definitely go in there and do this. And a lot of receivers nowadays have the ability to do this. So if you have a graphic equalizer or an app or some kind of configurable way of changing your sound, I would definitely go in and try to fine tune if you can. So what we're going to do next, I think everything's set up. We're going to give you a pretty quick demo. You guys know how it goes. We can't focus too much on the screen for copyright reasons, but I'm going to have him just press play on this video here and just take a listen to how everything sounds. I know this is my phone on YouTube, but hey, let's do it anyway. Go ahead and press play.
And what's the sub set on? It doesn't matter.
Sub is set. Okay, I'll show you guys my levels really quickly. He's curious. He doesn't know what I did either, really. So if I go to speakers, manual setup, and I go to levels. So my front left is -2, my center is +1, and my front right is -1. And so my center is always boosted a little bit higher because we want dialogue to come through. My sub is set to -7, and then on the sub itself is actually set just a little bit past halfway, maybe the 1 o'clock position. So tons of headroom left in there. We don't want it to bottom out. If you go over to, I think it's bass, you can see that we have it set to LFE, not LFE plus main. And we actually are going to change the LFE frequency to 120 because movies do go that high at times. And so we have that set to 120, and we're on LFE mode. So the sub is crossed over with the speakers. We're not getting any extra bass in the bookshelves. If we go back, Audyssey's menus are crazy. If you go back to
Audio, I think it's
an audio.
Yep.
And go to subwoofer level adjustment, we have that actually set to 0. So basically it's off is what basically is going on right now. Of course, he can play with that and make it how he wants to. Me personally, I would have it off, but he can leave it on and play with it. But we have no extra added boost level of sub adjustment at all to our audio. So it's actually turned down pretty low, and he's actually getting a much better, smoother, and louder bass response in this room with lower settings. He had the bass cranked just about max, maybe 70% on the sub. He had the options here. I think if I go back and go to options, I can go in and change my tone. You can boost the bass and things like that. He had that turned up a little bit, and then he had it turned up in the Audyssey. So he had bass just about all the way up and was not happy with it. And now it's maybe half the volume, and it sounds a lot louder to him. So that's the key of getting good placement, both speakers and the couch. So with that being said, John Paul, go ahead and hit play for me. Yeah. All right, guys, that was the sound demo. So here's what he has. All these speakers are actually mine. Mine is the clip sub, and of course that's his Marantz receiver. The 6009, is that what you have, or 6007? 6009. So these are the Bowser Wilkins 606 S2s. We talked about that. Those are on my desk. I sold them to him, and then this is my Canton center channel that I sold to him as well. And so he has Kpaceguy's front stage at the current moment. So I went through, like I said, made a lot of adjustments that I would do in my own home. Of course, he can change and make it completely different when I leave, but this is what I would do personally. So I'm going to turn the camera down to him and ask him what he thinks about his new adjusted setup.
I mean, I was telling him it's probably the cleanest I've heard in here. I mean, when I had it over here, I had to crank it, and it just sounded. I could hear it rattling everything. I could hear it shaking the walls. I could feel it shaking my couch, but I couldn't hear any of it. and it sounds super. There was a lot of nulls, a lot of strains, but this is just. I mean, and those are 4 subs too, and I've taken out 3. I've turned down all the volume, and it sounds 10 times more. It's just more full and rich, I guess. I don't know how that much. It just sounds way better. It's like, I don't know. It's like going from like a $80 100-watt Polk Audio, those cheap ones on Amazon.
Yep.
Going from that to like, your system. Obviously not that good, but it's just.
This just kind of goes to show 2 things for you guys. If you guys are having the same struggle with him, bad bass response, we had to move the couch completely away from this area. We walked around that couch and listened to several different songs and frequency sweeps, and there was no spot in that middle of the room that had any bass. Every part of that was just bad. So aesthetically, the room looked really good where you had it. The screen was nice, a good height. The speakers were nicely placed. Everything looked good, but sound was absolutely terrible there. So we had to move out of that spot. And you may find that same problem in your room too. You may just be simply sitting in a spot where bass does not sound good. And because of that, you may have to change the room. We personally like the room better this way. His mom came down here and said, yeah, John Paul, I like this. This is good. So mom's happy. So John Paul's happy and I'm happy too. So this is a really good setup. We have really good distance between left and right speakers. So he has a really big sound stage right now. And then his center channel has been doing really good too. He has 1 sub currently hooked up, but now he has the opportunity to set up more. We can put 1 over there. If he gets another one, we can put 1 over there. We can stick 1 over here. So he has a lot of options as far as more subs. So the room's set up to be expanded. He's going to get some surround sound speakers and put them in the back. Eventually maybe go Atmos, maybe not in this house. We'll have to see. But he'll at least go a 7-channel system. And he has the space and the layout. We planned it already. So we have the blueprint set up to expand it from here. But we have a good sound stage. So the first point was to make sure you're not placed wrong. But this is also goes to show that you can have some really good speakers and some really good system and still sound bad. He has Bowers and Wilkins. These are $1,000 when they were new. And this Canton center channel was $1,000 when I think it's still $1,000 now. And he has a pretty decent, honestly not a bad sub, but it all sounded terrible because of the placement of everything. So
You tell me the truth.
no, everything's good. I mean, half of the stuff is mine. So of course I'm going to tell you the truth, but this just goes to show, guys, you can have some really high quality gear, and if you put it in the wrong spot, it does not matter how good it is. I could bring my system in here and place it where he had his old setup, and it would still sound just as bad, I promise. So with that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching. John Paul, thanks for letting me come over here and pretty much take over everything. I think you're gonna like it. I can't wait to see what else you do. Guys, you will see him at the end of the year when we do another episode of Subscriber Showcase. I can't wait to see what improvements he makes over the next coming months. So we'll definitely keep in contact with John Paul and see what he has going on. I'm sure I'll sell some stuff and he'll probably buy it from me since he lives so close. So with that being said, guys, leave me a comment down below and let me know what kind of trials and tribulations have you overcame in your home theater. What issues do you have and how did you fix them? Let all of us know that down below in the comment section. Hit that like button, and John Paul, we'll see these guys in the next video, won't we?
Yeah,
we will. See you guys. Have a good one. Kpaceguy out. Peace. Peace.
I lost my mind. I will keep on holding my head high, even if the sky is falling down.